Hey everyone, it is January 9th and the numbers are in the 2021. How did it play out? That's what we're going to talk about today on Q&A Sunday. One of the questions I get all the time are things like, hey, how many houses sold in the MLS? How many houses are active? How many houses are this? How many houses are that? What's the most expensive listing that has ever sold? The list goes on and on. So today on Q&A Sunday, we're going to just recap just real quick what happened in 2021. We're going to do top 3 most expensive sales, top 3 least expensive sales. We're going to talk a little bit about our numbers of what we did as far as most and least expensive. And then we're going to talk about total number of transactions that happened in the West Penn multi-list, which is what makes up our MLS here in Pittsburgh. Okay, let's dive in first. The number of total transactions that went through the MLS. This is everything from residential, commercial, farm acreage land. It's all of everything. Now, that was over 37,000 transactions went through our MLS as sold transactions, 37,350. Now, that number can be slightly misleading just because sometimes a lease will get put in as a sold transaction when a lease doesn't really sell. It is a lease. So there's a little bit of misleading there. So let's get to say 37,000 transactions roughly went through our MLS. Now, if you break it out into residential sales, which we can do, 33,615 residential sales sold through our MLS in 2021. Now that number there, we could pretty much hang our hat on that number because if it's sold, it's sold. There isn't a whole lot of wishy-washy or any kind of misleading information on that. So you can just say 33,000 or over 33,000 houses sold in the Pittsburgh market last year. Now, these are the numbers that are kind of crazy because I have friends all over the world. And if you're watching, your mind's going to go, your mind is about to be blown on the most expensive sales that have happened in our MLS this year. Being 2021. Now, the most expensive sale just closed in December of this year. $7.5 million was the most expensive sale to go through our MLS as a residential or commercial sale. Now, you're asked, what in the world was it that sold for $7.5 million? It was 428 acres. It was an 18,000 square foot house. So pretty big deal there. Now, this is what's mind-blowing about that transaction. It was originally listed in October of 2019, and just closed in 2021. Now, it was originally listed for $14.75 million. That's $14,750,000, and it sold for $7,500,000. Wow, that's 50% list price to sell price ratio on that transaction. That's not good. Now, our average list price to sale price in 2021 was actually 99.6 list price to sell price ratio. Now, we're not selling $14 million properties because obviously they don't sell in our market. Who knew? Everyone. Now, the number 2 transaction was listed for $6.8 million, sold for $6 million. It was 5,700 acres. There wasn't even a house on it. Why did it sell for so much? Because here in Pennsylvania and some other places across the world, we have what's called oil and gas rights. So Marcellus Shale is a really big thing here. And that transaction, you actually got the oil and gas rights. There were 4 wells on the property and permitted for another, I think it said 7 on the listing. You're gonna make your money really good. Whoever bought that, that's actually probably a really good investment for that 5,000 acres. Now, the third most expensive transaction was $5 million. It was listed for 6.5, sold for 5 million. It was 100 acres and it was a 15,000 square foot house in addition to the 100 acres. Now, my friends in New York, Josh, if you're watching, you know, you send out the report every month of what's been happening, and your top 20 transactions aren't even at $5 million. So when people ask me, you know, what's your average sale price? And they're like, wow, that's a really low average sale price because we're just under 300,000. It's because we don't have a lot of $1 million transactions happening in our MLS. For the most, you know, for the biggest three to be at 7.5, 6.0 and 5 million even, that's not a whole lot going on as far as the over the $1 million market. Now, let's jump onto the flip side. Let's have a little fun with this. The least expensive sales. We had 2 transactions in our MLS that closed for $1. Yes, $1. Now, we had in the first one, number one, well, I guess both would be tied. I don't know how you want to look at it as number one or number two. It was listed at $12,000. It was nearly 1 acre of land, vacant land, and it sold for $1. Another one was listed for $1,000 and it sold for $1. And the best thing about that, the BAC that they were advertising, BAC being buyer's agency commission, meaning what I would get if I represented you, was $50. $50. But if you think about that, that's 50 times the number that the seller got. Think about it that way. That's kind of funny. Now, number 3, the third least expensive transaction was $800. It was listed for $1,000, sold for $800, and its buyer agency commission was only 3%. That's $24. But anyway, now let's jump to what our numbers were as far as our high and our low, and then we'll wrap this up real quick. So our lowest sale of the year was $12,000. Now, last year we sold a $3,000 and a $4,000, last year being 2020, but in 2021, the lowest sale we had was $12,000, and the highest sale we had was $1,925,000. So that's a pretty wide spread, and now you can see what goes on in the Pittsburgh market. If you have any questions about anything that you want to see on a future episode, please reach out to me, reach out to someone on the team, and we would be more than happy to get it on the air and answer that question for you. Have a great day and good luck in 2022. Here's to you.